Welcome to The Vinyl Guide, the podcast for record collectors and music nerds. Here's your host, the biggest record nerd of them all, Nate Goyer.
Well, hey everyone, it's Nate, and welcome to episode 561 of The Vinyl Guide, the podcast for record collectors and music nerds. And ladies and gentlemen, we are very stoked to be welcoming back to the podcast friend of the show, Mr. Chad Kassem, the mad music maker of the Midwest. Chad has long been a pillar of the music and audiophile community, running several well-known entities that we probably all use, one of which Analog Productions. They do high-quality reissues of music on vinyl, CD, and sometimes even reel-to-reel tape. That's still a thing. They're also responsible for the recent UHQR vinyl reissues, and we've seen many recently. Of course, there was the Miles Davis Kinda Blue, the Steely Dan catalog on 45 RPM, and of course the recent announcement of several titles from The Who, including what may be the definitive version of Who's Next. And I can't wait for that one. I ordered it straight on the day. Chad also runs Acoustic Sounds, where you can go online and buy the records and have them shipped anywhere in the world. It's actually surprisingly cost-effective if you're grabbing quite a few of them, even internationally. I get a few big boxes from them every year or so. That's acousticsounds.com. And of course, Chad also runs QRP, Quality Record Pressing, in Salina, Kansas, where they actually stamp out the records. And speaking of Salina, Kansas, that's where Chad is holding the first Vinyl Summit this year, October 15th through 18th. Lots of the who's who of the vinyl community will be there. And it's not only a record show, but tours of the record pressing facilities. There's going to be live music. There's going to be discussions, meet and greets, barbecue, lots more. And this Vinyl Summit, like I said, it's October 15th through 18th. That's the weekend before the Austin Record Fair. So if you're flying into the Midwest, it'll be kind of a 2-for-1. You hit the Vinyl Summit and then drive down to Austin. So more info on the Vinyl Summit at thevinylsummit.com. Now, today, Chad and I talk all about the Vinyl Summit, but we also get into the current state of the vinyl industry. He's got a very unique vantage point. He makes a vinyl. He ships it around. Where does he see it now? What are the trends people are gravitating towards? What music is starting to lose the interest of record buyers? We also talk about the current threats to the vinyl industry. Where are the weakest parts of the supply chain? And believe me, there are several. And we also discuss his recent UHQR series and the creation of what is likely the ultimate versions of these classic albums. And we talk about a lot more. By the way, there is more of this conversation, an extended version only available to supporters of the show at patreon.com/vinylguide. It's like 30% more. It's quite a bit. So if you help support our show at patreon.com/vinylguide, you can get a lot of extras. We do high resolution audio, early access to episodes and vinyl pre-sales, and then extended interviews like the one today. More Chad and lots more for everyone. Patreon.com/vinylguide. Thanks for listening. Alrighty, enough jibber jabber. Let's talk to Chad Kassem about the Vinyl Summit, the vinyl industry, and lots more.
All right, can you hear me?
Chad Kassem, as I live and breathe.
Oh, listen to you, man. So
I've only had one coffee too, and about 3 hours of sleep. So anyway, Chad, thanks again for coming back on the show. And I get a lot of comments about our initial conversations a few years back. Again, I've watched you and heard you on various YouTube channels, and of course Mark Maron's podcast and all sorts of other ones. And very interested to hear all about this Vinyl Summit. October 15th through 18th in Salina, Kansas. But before we get there, we're going to get there. I want to talk to you a little bit about the vinyl boom. Like last time we talked, this is a couple years now. Last time we talked on the podcast, vinyl was in the midst of this big explosion, and COVID obviously took that to a whole nother level. Can you talk a little bit about what you're seeing in the vinyl marketplace? Like what sort of trends you're seeing, specific genres that are growing or shrinking? Where are people's minds at when it comes to vinyl these days?
I think I can answer that. So I'll just go back to the beginning. I moved to, it's easy for me to start. I moved to Kansas in 1984. That was the same year that CDs came out. So I started rebuilding my collection of records because I had really scratched up I was partying before that. Mm-hmm. So I was upgrading my records, getting new records, just building onto my collection. And I went against the grain. Everybody was going towards CD, and I went against the grain. And I just started out as a hobby, just really collecting, buy, sell. Then it's like buy, sell, and trade, buy, sell, buy two, sell one. All it was just to get more records. But ever since I started, the vinyl has always been kind of like growing slowly, one step at a time, but at a slow trajectory up. And then right before COVID, we bought our pressing plant. We started buying our presses in 2010, right? 2011. So, we're just going along, just a little bit more, a little bit better than last year, a little bit better than the next year, a little bit better, just a little bit more, like a typical 5%, 10%, I'm guessing, rate of growth. And it was really growing pretty good right before COVID. And then, COVID happened, and it was like throwing gasoline on the fire. So again, way back in the day, a lot of people went towards CDs. There was a bunch of people like Michael Fremer and other people, and Don McKinnis that owns RTI, other record dealers, Gary Johnson, record dealers, that continue to sell records. And but the mainstream went towards CD. Well, CD had a 30-year lifespan. So from 84 to 2004, that was their 30-year lifespan. Now, people ask me this question all the time, and my answer is, I knew records would never die. I mean, now, did I see them growing like they did? No way. But I've spent every last dollar and every waking hour acting like or thinking that I knew this would happen. Of course, I didn't know this crazy boom would happen. Of course, I didn't know that. But if I look back, I spent every waking moment and every dollar I had like I knew this day was coming. I spent all my brain cells for the last 40 years.
Laser focused.
Laser focus on vinyl, invest in every penny I had and every moment I had. Now, what I didn't see happening is CDs dying like they did. That was the biggest shock. I knew vinyl would never die, but again, I never saw it going to where it went. Now, during COVID, what happened was it got nuts. And we were just buying up stocks and pallets and 1,000 of this album. Like every record, if it was decent, we'd get 1,000 copies. And then when it hit the wall, of course, I'm still, give me 1,000 of that, 1,000 of this, 1,000. And somebody's like, hey, dude, time out, man. We can't find, we're running out of place to store this stuff, and we're like, oh, and then I went probably 4 months past what I should have did.
Yeah, it's hard to pick it.
And I had to, we own everything. I own all my stock, all my buildings, everything's paid for. And that's kind of like the way I like to roll. I don't like paying interest, and I don't like borrowing money from the bank. And so far, that's kind of my philosophy in business. But man, I had to borrow like $4 million after COVID. Like from your best 2 years to having to go to the bank to borrow. Now that's weird. That's weird. Because I was also, not that I really live large, but I'm like, oh, well, I'll buy this building and you kind of.
Well, you're thinking big. You could be excused for thinking that it's not going to end. And you got a lot of people dependent on you. You got several businesses there. It's a lot on one man.
Oh, man. And I tell you what, boy, I was like, oh, and the interest rate was 8%. Like, the whole time that I never borrowed money, it's never been 8%.
It's like 2.
The time I have to borrow. But the good news is we've been able to pay it back, and we're back to normal. Still have a little bit of overstock on some stuff. Hey, that's how it goes, man. I can't. I'm sure I'm not the only one in the music business and every other business in the world.
Well, that's you paid what's called wisdom tax. You learned a lesson there.
On the other hand, I still should be grateful because there's other companies that the whole, the government, they shut down a lot of people went out of business, and some areas were worse than others. Like our competitor didn't have to shut down the whole time. So every state handled their stuff differently, which really gave a competitive edge. It was an unfair edge that you just happen to be lucky at. Like Walmart, okay, Amazon. It's like the only 2 companies they let stay in business, the ones that didn't need help, But that's what happened.
So these days, how are you kind of seeing it normalize out? I mean, are you seeing specific kind of like, is jazz selling bigger or less than it used to? Is that, where are people starting to lean towards?
Okay. That good. When you asked the initial question, I was going to talk about that and I forgot.
That's all right.
A couple of things to finish the original thought is like we've been always growing a little bit at a time, slowly. COVID went like this, and then it went like this. But if you, like here's the peak right here. But after COVID, the boom ended, it still went back to where, like, the line would have still went slightly up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like it would have still been that slide up.
That long-term trend still stayed. Yeah.
Right. It was still stay in the course, meaning like if you would pick a day right before when COVID started and right when COVID ended, it would have still been a little bit above when it started. Right. So now it's still going like this. Right. And so you got that. Now, the other thing is, what are people buying? I'm 64 years old. They say, Chad, you're into dinosaur rock. You know what I mean? You're stuck in the 70s, baby. And I'm like, hell yeah. I'm stuck in the 20s and 30s when it comes to blues. And when it comes to jazz and rock and roll, 50s, 60s, and 70s, And it's true. I'm really not interested in a lot of the later music because I'm into sound first, And I like playing music that sounds good. And, I didn't grow up in Louisiana in the swamps listening to classical music. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're listening to blues, Zydeco, Cajun, jazz, Louisiana music and classic rock. So, there's not a whole lot of sophistication and a whole lot of symphonies down there, So I didn't grow up listening to that. But when somebody plays it for you and it just sounds so gorgeous, so unbelievably, the acoustics are so good. So it made me get into classical. I don't have to know how to pronounce it. All I have to do is know if I like it or not. Got me into female vocal. It got me into a lot of music I wouldn't have listened to normally. But that being said, it's hard for me to get into music that doesn't sound that good. And a lot of the musics in the 90s and 2000 and on are compressed. they're not, this is like even before auto tunes. And now we got AI to deal with. So it's just going to probably get worse. But I still like the stuff that sounds good. So I'm still kind of stuck in the 70s and 80s and before. And I'm noticing now the guys that want to buy Alice in Chains and Soundgarden, they were young when I first got started. They couldn't afford the badass stereo systems and the really collectible records. But now they're doctors and lawyers. In fact, those guys are even getting older. So as time goes on, like now I'm noticing, people used to really want early Roy Orbison, early Elvis, early Buddy Holly, and early rockabilly. And they're getting kind of away from it. So like, let's just say there's about a 25-year span that people are wanting to buy in. Well, that span is moving up closer. They're not as interested in collecting the Roy Orbison and the Elvis and the Buddy Holly. Like that's kind of going away, and they're going more towards the Soundgarden and the Alice in Chains and things like that, And so, it's moving along like that.
Yeah.
The year it's getting closer. They're wanting 2000s music and beyond.
Well, I got a friend of mine who's a toy collector, right? He sells toys, right? And he said, 20 years ago, the hot toy, the collectible toys were like Howdy Doody and Western toys and stuff from Gunsmoke and stuff like that. And he said nowadays it's hard to even give that stuff away because most people that meant something to are no longer around. So I imagine probably something very similar is happening. Yeah.
Same thing. Now, don't get me wrong. People still want some of the original RCA Living Stereos. And if you can get some clean, now they're getting more selective. Maybe the price come down a little. The stuff was still hard to get. So, right. Of course, I still buy it when I can. And I like it too. If you can get a Roy Orbison golden stereo for Monument, and it's clean, it's nice to have. But you're right. The other thing is some of them are not with us any longer, or some of them are not interested, and some of them, a lot of them have gotten it now. They finally got it. So there's a lot of that. I heard toy trains. Lionel trains, that's happened too.
Yeah.
People were paying just silly money. And then people aren't quite as interested.
Yeah. Now, I tell you one thing I'm starting to really get into, and this is part on you, is the audiophile pressings. I've actually kind of come to find it, I have such limited time to be able to truly sit and listen that when I do have that time, I want to have the absolute best pressing, the best sound against my ears. And so like the series you have with UHQR or the one steps that Tom Grover Beery are putting out, those are the ones that I'm seeking out. Even music that I'm not as familiar with. I love to hear it in like an audiophile press, the best version I can get of it. Are you starting to see? Is that something that's starting to happen in the market elsewhere?
Yeah, listen, we're all busy. When you're going to dedicate your time to sitting in front of your stereo and listening to a record, you're going to want to listen to the best sounding version possible. Just like if you're going to bring your wife or your friend or to dinner for your birthday, or just dinner, you want to go to the best restaurant, right? The best meal.
Fully.
And, or you're going to prepare it at home. You're going to buy the best ingredients. You get to a point in life where you really know that quality matters and quality means something. And I'm glad y'all are all coming along with me and realizing that, because when we master stuff, I get to listen to, like I say all the time, how I'm a lucky man, because what I get to do for a living it's my hobby. And what could be better than remastering your favorite record that you listened to your whole life and making it sound better than it's ever sounded before, and hearing it sound better than you've ever heard it before. Your favorite record you've heard a million times. You're going, wow, man, that's what that instrument is, or that's what he's saying, or of course, it's a wonderful thing to be able to hear your favorite album sounding better than it's ever sounded before. What's better than that?
Well, those pressings, I got the box set, the Bill Evans 45 RPM box set from you, and the clarity and the heartache that you can hear on that. It's so hard to find Bill Evans records in really nice shape, original pressings, right? And if you do find one, you're talking $400 or $500 at least. And quite often those older pressings aren't really that great. The pressing factories back in the 60s, they cut a lot of corners. So even if you find a gorgeous one, it's really hard to, put it up against.
Yeah, you can find a clean one. It's still going to have a pretty grungy. It's going to be a little bit of surface noise.
And that's okay for something heavy. Like I could deal with surface noise for The Who, or I could deal with surface noise. But Bill Evans or Muddy Waters, when it sounds like the person is right in the room with you, it's
what I say, the less instruments that are playing at the same time, the better the sound, and the quieter the music is, like classical or jazz or blues or folk. You don't want to hear a lot of ticks and pops, because and there's a lot of people that go, oh, the original is always the best. And that it's not true at all.
Not true at all. Nope.
And saying that is about as dumb as me saying our reissue is always better. You know what I mean? A reissue ain't always better, but the original ain't always better. But I do this every day, for 10 hours a day, sometimes more. And I compare them, and we can usually beat the original. Sometimes we smoke it. Sometimes we're just this much better, and sometimes it's hard. But even when it's hard, we think ours is at least just a little bit better. A little bit to a good amount better. And to get a little bit is hard. When you're listening to things and you remaster them, it's not like to get it to sound, this is what I say, it's easy to beat a bad job, it's hard to beat a good job. Okay, so a lot of times Bernie Grundman might have mastered the original to begin with, so we're having him do a battle with himself, so sometimes it's hard, but a little bit in this business is a lot. Did I say that right? Let's just think about race cars. They'll spend $1 million to get a car. They'll probably spend $30 million to get a car to go 2 miles an hour faster.
Yeah.
Once you get it at that level, to get 2 miles an hour faster, that ain't easy. To get it to sound a little bit better is you have to do, like what I say is, there's about 20 different things you do when you're making a record. Let's say, I don't know how many, but there's a good amount of things you do. And each one of those things is just a little bit of an improvement. Like you do it to the highest quality you can possible, and it's a little improvement. But then you do 10 things that are a little improvement, and 10 little improvements make one good improvement.
Right.
You follow me?
Yeah.
But you got to do all of the things. You can't skip out on a couple.
So in that example, you're talking about the remastering, you're talking about the compression, but you're also talking about the compounds, the things that go into actually making the record, the physical object. Every single step has important quality checks that you have to go through.
Right. So I don't care how good your pressing is. If you don't do a good job mastering, then all the good pressing is going to do is let you hear just how it really sounds. So, or you don't want to do all this work mastering to press it on shitty vinyl, right? Like if you knew that Leonardo da Vinci was fixing to paint another Mona Lisa, wouldn't you go try to find him the best canvas that there is in the world? You know what I mean? Like one time I met Dave Mason and we started pressing. Once he met me and I told him all this stuff, we started making all of his records. And I heard a lot of musicians say this. They go, well, you know, I'm into the groove. The sound isn't as important as really locking in a good groove where you feel it and it's soulful and you got a good groove. I said, Dave, I kind of agree with you, and I hear a lot of musicians say that, and I understand what you're talking about. But what would be wrong if I was ready to capture that good groove in the best sonic quality possible, and I was able to continue that great sound to the final product where the people could hear that great groove you came up with in the best sonics you could possibly have. Now, wouldn't that be greater? And he's like, hey, I want you to make my records from now on. And then he goes, will you make me CDs too? I said, hey, no, Dave, I got to draw the line somewhere.
So when it comes to selecting titles for the UHQR series, how do you go about like understanding what title is going to fit best on it? And probably to start, let's how would we summarize the UHQR process for people who aren't familiar with it?
Well, UHQR stands for ultra high quality recording. So the way I choose a UHQR, I want it to be a great sounding record of a real classic, well-known album. Like, let's say I do 100 UHQRs. You know, I want Who's Next in there. I want Steely Dan Asia in there. I want Miles Davis Kind of Blue in there. You know what I mean? I want Jimi Hendrix Axis Bold as Love in there. You know, you see where I'm going with this? I want the Who Tommy in there. I want the most classic, well-known top 100 rock and roll or jazz or blues or classical records. The best, well-known, you know, no disputing these are the top records that were ever made in the world. And then I also, let's say there was a record that's considered that, but it just didn't sound that good. Well, man, I'm not going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars and all that time to work on a record that the sonic quality wasn't really up to my standard to begin with. So it's usually a lot of times on analog productions, if I did it, it's a record I like. It's kind of hard to spend that much money and all that time on a record that you don't really like. So it's like something I really like. That's a well-known classic. That's how I pick.
Okay, all right. So at the end of the day, it is in large part to Chad Kassem's tastes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to broaden my horizons. Like I'm trying to get into, you know, Alice in Chains and Soundgarden and these things, and I'm starting to like, you know, I'm moving along also. But still, to me, Alice in Chains is still new music. You know what I'm saying?
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with you, having your thumbprint on things, because this is, you've built this, you've stuck with it. You deserve to have your tastes honored. First and foremost, too, because the ones you just named are the ones that are in my Acoustic Sounds shopping cart. So yeah, I don't think anyone would disagree that those are absolute classic albums they'd love to hear. And
right, yeah, one time CBS Sunday Morning, and the lady asked me a question, and it was a really great question, and it made me think. And I was like, wow, that's a great question. Now, what's funny is they didn't use that hit the cutting room floor. And later on, about 6 months ago, CBS Saturday Morning came, and I told the new interviewer that same thing that the older one asked me, and they did put it, but I said, and the question was, Chad, you really love the blues, and you're recording all of these blues legends and these blues artists, and you're spending a lot of your money recording these blues guys, and blues doesn't really sell that much. And, what if nobody buys these records that you spent all this time on and all this money on? What if people don't share your passion and they don't buy it? And I said, wow, that's a good question. I said, well, I guess I'll just sit here by myself and listen to it then. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I might have said it a little different. Like, I guess I'll just sit here and listen, like, hey, I made it for me. You know what I mean? So I'll listen to it by myself. So, a lot of it's my taste. I am learning that the times are changing and I need to kind of change with the times. I'm slow to do it, but I'm noticing. But I mean, you just take the Rolling Stones top 500 rock and roll albums. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If you can get records out of that, like ZZ Top, Tres Hombres, The Doors, LA Woman, Who's Next, Axis Bold as Love, Aqualung, you know what I mean? Kinda Blue, Love Supreme, Bill Evans' Waltz for Debbie.
So is it difficult to secure these? Because I know there are other plants, other businesses that want to do something very similar. So
well, the labels that own it want to do the records themselves now, it's a good thing. There's other people that are wanting to do what we're doing, which is a good thing. It does make it tougher, but like the White Stripes, they came to us. They go, man, we love the process. We want our record. We want Elephant to be sitting next to Axis Bold as Love. We want it between Axis Bold as Love and whatever.
Kinda Blue. Yeah.
Kinda Blue. And I said, well, and that's new music to me also. So I needed to listen to it. And I'm like, I like it.
Yeah.
It's worthy. And it sold well. So
is it the biggest selling UHQR, I would imagine, Kinda Blue?
Oh yeah. Okay. We did 25,000 33s and sold out. And we've sold about 15,000 45s of Kinda Blue. So that's almost 40,000 records of a record that was either $125 or $150.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'll bet you the first couple of years, the Kinda Blue didn't sell that many.
Yeah.
Worldwide. So we're really proud of it.
Yeah. You did the 33 and then you did the 45.
Yeah.
What was that decision like? Because as a consumer, I bought the 33, and then when I saw the 45, I was like, oh, damn, I should have held out. So am I going to have the same feeling with Who's Next? I just ordered that on 33.
Well, we get so much on either side. Quit doing 45s. We want 33s. We don't like to flip.
Mm-hmm.
And then we do the 33. But are you going to do the 45? I really wanted the 45. So we like to do both, really, like we satisfy everybody.
Mm.
But then, then people say, well, are you going to do the 45? Well, I'm like, I may. I have to get the rights. We'll have to see if they, hey, let's see how the 33, if I don't sell the 33 out, which I know I'm not going to have a problem on the Who's Next And if you're going to do them both, which one do you do first? You know what I mean? Like, it's no matter what you do, you're going to somebody's not going to be happy, because some people just love 45s and that's all they want. Some people, all they want is 33. Some people like me like both. You know what I mean? Like, it's like the Almond Joy commercial. Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you don't feel like getting up. Put the 33 on. Yeah. But if somebody's coming over and you want to knock their head off, pull out the 45. Or if you don't have much time and you really want to, hear the best version, I like having both, really. And I think both are best for different reasons. It's more of what mood are you in? Are you really wanting to just be blown away and don't mind flipping, or are you just doing the demo for your friend that's coming over?
I'm generally trying to reconfirm with my wife that all this money I spent was worth it. So I want something beautiful to put on.
Yeah, well, the 45 gives you that. It takes it, another level. That's for sure.
What are we seeing for the quality and even the pricing of things like the compounds? Because you use a special compound for UHQR. And you probably buy barrels and barrels every day of it for every other pressing that you're doing. How are you seeing the market in that? Is that, obviously it seems like everything's getting more expensive these days.
Well, when the war started, everybody in the tariffs and the war, everybody's like, oh, no. It's going to be, goes up, and it didn't go up for a long time because, the guy I buy from, they buy way in advance. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And even the stuff he's making now, might be being billed at the old price. And so he's like, well, we haven't changed it yet. And so in America, he might have warehouse full. Mm-hmm. So it comes way later, the price increase. Now everything's increasing now. You absorb, you have your retail. Mm-hmm. You can't be changing that all the time. So what happens is everything just keeps getting stacked up. Your margin gets smaller. Everybody's margin gets smaller. You know what I mean? And then so you can't do it anymore, and then you've got to raise your price. But yeah, it's going up, but not as quickly as people thought, and hopefully, something happens soon that keeps it, stable.
Yeah. Well, I've noticed the prices on acoustic sounds haven't gone up, which is I'm thankful for. I'm paying with Australian dollars, which makes it hurt even more. But I've also noticed there seems to be a growth in SACDs and even reel-to-reels.
Yeah, reel-to-reel is coming on strong. Some of the major labels are doing it now. SACD never died. They're really CDs. I'm seeing articles on YouTube all the time. Like CDs are coming back and are getting more popular. Cassettes. So
okay.
Yeah, no, cassettes. Not to my customers. But I do have customers going out and buying the old Nakamichis and cleaning them up and making their own tapes and stuff. Yeah.
Okay. All right. But reel-to-reels are starting to sell pretty decently then. That's interesting.
Yeah, reel-to-reels, man. It's pretty badass.
So, Chad, with your operations, with acoustic sounds, with the pressing plant, what's the thing you worry about the most? Is there a supply shortage or an impending event that running out of compound, anything like that?
Well, there's only one lacquer manufacturer in Japan. There was two in the world, and then they had to fire in California. Mm-hmm. So that really put the world of record buyers in a shock. Now, a lot of consumers didn't even know this happened, but there's only one lacquer manufacturer. And if something happens to them, we got a problem.
What would that problem look like? Because if they stop making those lacquers, is it game over? Are there alternative boutique lacquer manufacturers? Just they can't do the quantity?
Well, if the only one went out of business, then there would be some serious people, like people that have money, that love records, that do manufacturing, that kind of have something close. Because tape, there's only 2 companies that make tape.
Mm-hmm.
So some could happen to them too. There's only a few people that fix cutter heads. And one guy was like an American who was 93, and he wouldn't teach anybody. He took it to his grave.
Oh.
I mean, I don't agree with that, but that's how he rolled.
Mm-hmm.
He took it to his grave. Not many people know how to teach that. Not many people know how to do it. So if the cutter heads, people that there's only a few people that can fix it, and they're usually kind of people that are don't piss them off kind of guys.
Eccentric.
Yeah, they're eccentric. Good word. Yeah, good. That's the word I'm looking for. Some of them are kind of eccentric, and they're not always in it for the money, but they do it when they on their time. And so you got those guys, the cutter heads, only a few. There's only a few out there too, and not making them anymore. You got the tape guys, there's only 2. The lacquer guy, there's only 1. So those are all things
that's multiple points of failure then.
Mm-hmm.
So okay. All right.
But I do believe if the lacquer place burned down, that somebody would stand up. But even if they said, well, here's $5 million, let's get started, they're not going to be up and running tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
It'll take a year plus to get the whole motion, the whole supply chain in line. But there's no kind of boutique kind of lacquer creators, the smaller scale, just limited quantity.
I think there are some people that kind of make like a cheaper version, not commercially.
And you can't stockpile lacquers because they're almost gelatinous, as I understand. You don't.
I mean, you could, but they do. Different people argue differently how much they change. But yeah, most people don't stockpile them.
So what you're saying is we're probably 30 days away from a vinyl crisis at any point.
Well, what do they say? Like, if you want to see chaos, nobody ate for 3 days. It really only take 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
If nobody ate in 3 days, it'd be crazy.
Yeah. Well, from those dark thoughts, let's talk about Vinyl Summit.
All right. Yeah. Well, hey, man. You went me. You took me in a dark tunnel, but I don't know what else to do to get people. There was a lot of people that thought about the lacquer, getting into it. I looked into a lot of it.
I'm sure you did.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
It's it seems easy, but it's not. And nothing is. And then the tape, somebody invested once when some rich guy in Europe thought the tape was, might go away or was in danger. He invested a lot of money into helping somebody get the tape going, one of the 2 companies. And I think I would guess he probably got his money back. I don't think he did it for the money. I think he was successful at another business, but he was passionate about tape personally.
Mm-hmm.
And he was worried about it. So it kind of did happen where somebody stepped in to help. All right, the Vinyl Summit. It's our 40th anniversary. And we work with Surefire, the PR company. And they're like, Chad, you're coming up on your 40th. You got to do something spectacular, something extraordinary, or let's have some fun. Now, we had 21 blues concerts. We called them the Blues Masters at the Crossroads. We started in 1998, and we did 21 in a row. But it's a lot of work. It's a lot of money. And I think in 2019, we stopped. So we had like 21 years of them. They were fun. We had a blast. We recorded everybody from Gatemouth Brown to Bobby Blue Bland, from Honey Boy Edwards to Pine Top Perkins, Lazy Lester. I mean, all the Tab Benoit, Tony Joe White, who's also big in Australia. Tony, they love Tony Joe. And so for our 40th, the one thing, since I brought up Tony Joe, we're going to start releasing some of the recordings that we did over the 21 years.
Okay.
Tony Joe and Tab Benoit will be the first two. We're gonna try to make the release date be at the October 15th, 16th, and 17th. That's when the Vinyl Summit's going to be. So we did 21 years. We called it Blues Masters at the Crossroads. Now the emphasis was on blues and the concert, but we said, hey, let's change the emphasis from blues concerts to a vinyl convention. All things vinyl with music, not live music with vinyl with live music. So we go, hey, everybody come to Salina, Kansas, the center of the vinyl universe. Watch how records are recorded, plated, pressed, distributed. How, our vinyl vault, all our used records. You get to see Acoustic Sounds Warehouse. You get to see quality record pressings. You get to see the mastering lab. You get to see Blue Heaven Studios. You get to see records being made and records being sold, used record dealers from all over the world and record collectors from all over the world. And a bunch of other people just like yourself are going to be here. Record dealers, record collectors, mastering engineers, recording engineers. Wilson Audio is going to be sponsoring it. See directed disc being made, see recordings being made. Come to the center of the vinyl universe, and you see all things vinyl. Oh, and by the way, we have 3 live concerts. You can hang out with the musicians, talk to the musicians. We have all-night jams. It's pro audio people, consumer audio people, hi-fi people, record labels, record mastering engineers. People that fix lathes, Chris Smoot. We have a lot of industry heavyweights that are going to be here. So, yeah, we come up with the name. Michael Fremer came up with the name. Michael's going to be here. Instead of calling it the Blues Masters at the Crossroads, it's going to be called the Vinyl Summit. So we just flopped the emphasis.
Yep. Okay. So vinylsummit.com is where you could learn more. You can get tickets.
Yep.
October 15th through 18th. Yep. Vinylsummit.com, October 15th through 18th, Salina, Kansas. All those talents, all those brains around the vinyl record industry are going to be there. Now, this is not just for industry types. This is also for consumers and fans and people who just love the music and listen to records. It's not all going to be directed at the people who manufacture. Yeah,
if you love music, Taj Mahal will be here, Jimmy Vaughn will be here, Chico Freeman will be here, Robert Finley, Marquise Knox. It'll be one night of jazz, one night of blues, and then the third night will be the blues at the Stiefel Theater with Taj Mahal and Jimmy Vaughn. These people hang around the whole weekend. There'll be musicians, mastering engineers. So it'll be a music festival, but it'll be mostly centered around vinyl collectors, vinyl dealers, record reissue labels, Concord, Rhino, Uni will be here. You mentioned Tom Berry. He said he wants to come. Abby from Impex, Mobile Fidelity and Music Direct and Impex. Abby Fawn. Just, I've invited Bernie. He said he's coming unless his wife is not doing well. There's a lot of people that said they're coming, record dealers, record buyers, mastering engineers, it's just you'll get to learn about how records are made. You'll get to see behind the scenes.
Yep.
Hang out with musicians, label owners, record dealers, buy records,
And
meet a lot of YouTubers are coming, and we're hoping you come.
There's a non-zero chance I'll be there. I'm going to try to work it out. I do want to mention, especially to our international listeners, this Vinyl Summit is the week before Austin. So if you fly into the U.S. in the Midwest, you could hang out in Salina, Kansas, see the whole thing happen, and then take a day or so to drive south, and then you'll be ready for the Austin Record Fair. So you get 2 for 1.
Well, dude, thanks for reminding me about that, because I'm trying to put together all the reasons to not give somebody a reason to say no, and I forgot about that. So, yeah, right before the Austin, we do have some people coming in from Ireland, Holland, Germany. Anyway, a bunch of people coming from all over. So, yeah. Well, we hope you can come, and there'll be other people that here already, and people that other like-minded people. A lot of the people that come here make friends because the other people are just like them, same age, same hobbies.
It's just like at a record show. Those are my people. I get along with everyone at a record show because I think we got such a mind meld. Like it's those are my people. I love hanging out with people at record shows, and this sounds like an excellent spot to do it in as well.
Yeah, you'll love it. Plus, you'll see how all of this is made. You'll see our campus, and you'll celebrate our 40th year with us, man. It's all about having a good time, really, at this point.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, all right. I need to be working with the wife and get a few more favors in to attend this Vinyl Summit. So, everyone, again, Vinyl Summit, October 15th through 18th in Salina, Kansas. And if you need even more reason to go there, there's great barbecue all throughout that state. So vinylsummit.com is where you sign up, get tickets. Acousticsounds.com is where you go in to get some fantastic records, especially check out the UHQRs. The Steely Dan sound absolutely amazing. I can't wait to get my hands on the Who's Next as soon as you finish pressing those. I always love it, Chad, to bump into you at a record fair, and I always love it when I get home and there's a white Acoustic Sounds box on my doorstep with some goodies inside. So again, really appreciate all your contributions to my ears and the hobby of record collecting, and hope to see you at Vinyl Summit in October.
Well, thanks. I hope to see you as well, man, and everybody else.
Oh man, Chad is such a good dude. He is salt of the earth, and he's done so much for the vinyl and music community out of that small town of Salina, Kansas. I mean, record pressing, audio production. He's got a studio there. He's got a live room. Of course, Acoustic Sound ships their records out of there, and now the Vinyl Summit. So long may you run, Chad. And don't forget, there is an extended version of this interview available to supporters of the show, patreon.com/vinylguide. There's like 20 more minutes of our conversation. And again, we go deeper into some areas. But, if you want to help support the show, we always welcome that. Patreon.com/vinylguide, high-res audio, early access to episodes and vinyl pre-sales, and, of course, extended interviews like the one with Chad. Patreon.com/vinylguide. And thanks in advance for your support. And that's it for this episode of The Vinyl Guide. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks to everyone who's sharing these episodes on social media, putting them on Reddit forums and Facebook groups, leaving positive reviews on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and of course, those of you who are Patreon legends, That just absolutely rocks. Thank you so much for helping support the podcast. We'll be back shortly with a brand new episode. So until we talk next time, y'all behave yourselves. Thanks again for listening to the Vinyl Guide Podcast. Cheers.